I quickly want us to understand that when the British came into Nigeria to colonize Nigeria, it was not very peaceful. A lot of people would say that, okay, the British came because people in Nigeria were very barbaric, they are eating each other, there were a lot of ritualism, there were lots of cannibalism. That is not true. That was a way of life. And when British came, Nigerians were very accommodating people, but that is not when you are trying to take over their lands. So there were a lot of resistance. So the people of Ijebu-Ode, so I'm going to be talking about Ijebu people, what happened in Ijebu, and I will be starting with Ijebu-Ode. I will take you later to Shagamu, Ikorodu, and others, but I'm going to start with Ijebu-Ode because Ijebu-Ode was like the big city or the big country in those days. So it was not like Ijebu-Ode city or Ijebu-Ode town. It was like saying Ijebu-Ode country. And look at this, look at the map. Survey of a route from Ito-Ike to of Ijebu-Ode. They call it Ijebu-Ode then because when the British asked what is this place called, it's Ijebu-Ode, but they don't know how to call it. So they in all the documents you will see in the archives, you will see Jebu. So when you see Jebu, that means Ijebu-Ode, just like what we have in the Bible, Jebusite. So this was actually Ijebu-Ode. And you look, when the British first came, this was in February 1892, they actually drew the map. And look at it. From Ito-Ike, if you look at that place, you see clearing, which means there were farms. And then that took it to the roads. You can see the road. Then there is a lady, which is like a priest house. The Yoruba people priest house is usually called a lady. That is what they call fetish house. You see, they put fetish house, but that was actually a lady, which is usually for the Ogboni or the king's ritual center and the rest of it. And then they now follow that to the roads. You can see the roads going to another place. It's called clearing, which means there was another farm. So those clearings are actually farms. And then you see road clearing. And then they got to Ibefu, and then they drew it, they showed the water. You can see very simple intelligence gathered there. And then it moves to Iladu, and then the road, grass, and most of these names, Ibefu is in Ijebu-Ode, but Iladu may not be the exact name, but they just call it the way they can understand. And then you see bushes, grasses, you see water again. And then you go to Idowa. Of course, Idowa is in Ijebu-Ode, so for people who are from that place, they know. Then we have Jagbede, and then it moved down to the gate of Ijebu-Ode. So it's moving like this down. And if you are familiar with Ijebu-Ode, you know that is exactly how the map is. And this was their first time by the Governor Carter. That was the first map that was given to him about the area that was mapped for expedition. So they are trying to take over Ijebu-Ode from Ijebu people. Then they go to the palace. It's very funny, but this intelligence is mad. They go to the palace, and you see this was dated 26th of April 1892. So they had a rough sketch. So there were thick forests around Ijebu-Ode country. So you see wicket, then get to Epe. So this was the Epe road. So if you are coming from Shagamu now, this was actually the Epe road. And then thick forests everywhere, ditch, and then it's showing that the road is coming from Abeokuta. So if you are familiar with that road, not the present Ijebu-Ode Shagamu road, because that was a new road. So this was actually the old road. So look at this map. This is the map reading of Ijebu-Ode and the King's Palace. So they have these guys, and you will see, and this was dated April. So you remember the first time was in February, then in April they were able to get this map out, and then they came back again, 45 position at Ijebu-Ode, and this was dated May 30th, 1892. So this is in May 30th, 1892, and this is showing a more comprehensive map of the inner court, the hospital, large courtyard, yard with shelter for houses. So they already map out how, and this is the exit. You see, so they said solid wall, loophole, stockade, timber, everything they have been able to map it. So if you look at these signs, it's telling you what is in those areas. So if you look at this place now, it's having look at where they have the timber. This, so it's saying everywhere here is timber. So all these signs, they are timber, and then this is the exit into that place. And this was the map that was designed in 30th May 1892. And then look at this sketch. This was in August. So if you look at it consistently, they came in February, did some research, then they came again in April, then the last one year was in May. After April, May, which is like the second month, so they were there till May. They left and came back in August. This is August 17th, 1892, and you can see the road from Epe. So they are actually going to be coming from Lagos through the road from Epe, and then they are going to see grassy land, island, thick forest or thick bush, the stream. So this is the river here, and then we have the thick bush, and then we have Magbon. So this Magbon was actually Ijebu encampment. What does that mean? This is the boundary of war. So during the expedition, this was where the Ijebu-Ode people, this was like the gate to Ijebu-Ode. So for you to enter into Ijebu-Ode, you have to beat the military architecture of Ijebu-Ode people here. So, and that was where the war took place. So when the British were coming to take over Ijebu-Ode, this was where they had the fight. And the war by Ijebu-Ode people was led by Balogun Kuku in this year, but the British actually conquered them. And then this is the map of when Ijebu-Ode was already conquered. So you can see sketch showing trim of Ijebu-Ode territory annexed. So after Ijebu-Ode was already conquered, this was in December 1892. So you can see. So look at what we had there. This was dated to August. So they now came back, and in December, and in less than 2 weeks, they were able to capture Ijebu-Ode. And you see, ceded territory, Majopa, Epe, Ishihun River. So now everywhere here has been conquered. It was when Ijebu-Ode was conquered, and I think about 1,500 people were killed there. Yes. Don't forget that in this year, we had only 15,000 people in Ijebu-Ode. 15,000. So out of which 1,500 of them, which is about 10% of that population, was actually killed before they take over Ijebu-Ode. So when you hear colonialism, it is not coming peacefully or free willing. People had to fight, but of course, the British at the time have the Maxi gun, which was like a machine gun, very powerful. Where our people use arrows and machetes, they use that, which make it easier. And that is why the people had to surrender. And this is now the new map. So if you look at this new map, it's showing that all these areas have been annexed to Lagos. So because at the time it was not Nigeria, it was still Lagos, it was still the areas occupied. And it was when they finished in 1892 year that they moved to Shagamu and annexed Shagamu in 1894. But I'm going to take you to that history in another time. But again, it's very good that I have to thank the British for providing these maps for us, so that we, without these maps, I won't be able to know what has happened, and you will not be able to know. So you look at it again, they came in February, they came in April, May, August, and by December, the deed was done. And now Ijebu-Ode is now under the British rule. And then after that time, they moved to Shagamu. And from there, they moved to other places like Ibadan and the rest of Nigeria. So I'm going to be educating us more about colonialism, especially about the impact of Freddy Lugard in these regions. Thank you.